Hey, it's Wendy from the Nomadic Vegan, and welcome to the 11th and final part in this 11-part series on my favorite vegan dishes from around the world. This is it. We've only got one more cuisine to talk about, and that cuisine is Vietnamese. So in the previous video, we talked about Thai cuisine, and I shared with you my favorite vegan Thai dish. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. Today, we are kind of staying with that geographic theme, so we're still in Southeast Asia, but we're just going to move over to Vietnam, which is another country like Thailand that is absolutely amazing for vegans. You have the Buddhist traditions of the country that have had a really strong influence on the cuisine. And so Buddhist monks do not eat meat, and most of them do not eat any animal products. And then you have a lot of lay Buddhist followers who will also follow a similar diet, at least on certain days. And there are particular days of the Buddhist calendar when many people follow a vegan diet. And so you have restaurants, Buddhist restaurants, all over the country that are serving only vegetarian and often only vegan food. They may occasionally have, some drinks with some condensed milk in there or something like that, but it's going to be almost all vegan food. And they will serve vegan versions of basically any Vietnamese dish that you could possibly think of. So any dish, any specialty that you might hear about or read about, someone might tell you, oh, you have to try this, you have to try that. Your guidebook might say, oh, when you go to Hoi An, be sure to try the white rose dumplings, because that's a local specialty that's really famous in the city of Hoi An. And then you read about the Hoi An dumplings and they say that they're filled with meat or they're filled with shrimp, and you think, oh, well, I'm going to miss out. No, you're not going to miss out at all, because there are these Buddhist restaurants in Hoi An that will be serving vegan versions of the white rose dumplings. And that's just one example, and that's true for any local specialty that you can think of. You can always find a vegan version of it. So that made it really difficult to choose just one dish, because you basically have the entire repertoire of Vietnamese cuisine open to us, and it was really hard to choose. But I decided to go with a dish that's really close to the heart of the people. It's a street food, and it's really popular among Vietnamese people, and also increasingly outside of Vietnam. Especially in recent years, this dish has become really popular in the US and in other Western countries as well. And I am talking about the bánh mì. If you haven't heard of a bánh mì before, it's a sandwich. And it's a really interesting case of fusion food, in this case between Vietnamese food and French food. So you might know that Vietnam was colonized by the French. And so when the French came as colonizers, they brought with them some of their culinary traditions, including the baguette. And the baguette was adopted by the Vietnamese people, but then they've kind of put their own twist on it as well, and called it the bánh mì. Now the bánh mì, the words bánh mì in Vietnamese actually just mean bread. So outside of Vietnam, in the US, like I said, in Europe and other countries, when we say bánh mì, we mean the sandwich. But in Vietnam as well, it's often understood that you're probably talking about the sandwich. But really, technically, when you say bánh mì, you're just saying bread, the actual baguette type bread. And then if you want to specifically say that you want to have that bread filled with something and turned into a sandwich, then you would say bánh mì kep, or perhaps bánh mì Saigon. Saigon as in the city in the south of Vietnam, which is now known today as Ho Chi Minh City. This is where this sandwich originated and became popular. And so it's typically known as either a bánh mì kep or bánh mì Saigon. But like I said, if you just want to say bánh mì, if you can't remember any more than that, then that will probably get the point across well enough too. So let's get back to this bread. Like I said, the bánh mì It does actually refer to just the bread. And it's similar to a French baguette, but it has some differences as well. So a French baguette, as you probably know, is normally a long and narrow loaf of bread, right? And it's quite large. It's too much for just one person. You wouldn't make a sandwich, just one sandwich out of a whole baguette, because that would be way too much to eat in one sitting. You would at least get it into 2, if not more, pieces. Whereas the bánh mì in Vietnam, it's actually an individual serving, so it's the perfect size for a sandwich. And that's what the Vietnamese have used it for, and that's what it's become famous for. Oh, and another difference is that whereas the French baguette is of course made just with wheat flour, the Vietnamese bánh mì is made with a mix. So you have some wheat flour, and that's also mixed with rice flour. So it's a combination of those two. So that's really kind of a nice example of this fusion that I'm talking about. You have the wheat that's coming from the west, and then you have the rice that's coming from the east, and then they mix together to make something really delicious. Alright, so what do you do with this bread? Well, you slice it in half, and then you're going to add some things inside it. So first, you're probably going to add some pickled vegetables, like some carrots and some daikon radish, which is a large white radish that's popular in Asia. And those are going to be kind of shredded up and pickled. You'll have some of those. You'll have some cilantro or coriander if you speak British English, and probably some other fresh herbs as well. You're going to have some kind of sauce. So mayonnaise is popular, but if you're talking about a vegan version, then you could have a sweet chili sauce or a soy sauce, or maybe a combination of those that makes kind of a marinade. And then as the main ingredient, you could have meat, or for a vegan version you would have tofu or seitan, or some kind of mock meat that's made out of seitan. And these mock meats are very common in Vietnam because, like I said, they are often used in these Buddhist restaurants where they make veganized versions of their favorite dishes. And these restaurants, by the way, are called chay restaurants. And chay is just the word for this Buddhist cuisine that is vegetarian and usually vegan. So that's a nice shortcut. Whenever you want to ask for a vegan version of any particular dish, you can just add the word chay on the end of it when you're asking for it. So if you want a vegan bánh mì, then you would just ask for a bánh mì chay. And that would make sure that you get a vegan version of this dish. So, like I said, it's extremely popular all throughout Vietnam. You'll see bánh mì carts, little street carts that are being wheeled around by vendors where they're selling these sandwiches right out of the cart. Now, you might get lucky and find one of those carts that is offering a vegan version. But if not, a good place to look for them is around the temples, the Buddhist temples. And then you're much more likely to find you often find a cart that serves only the vegan version. And so here's a photo of one of those types of carts that my friends Paul and Carol from Vegan Food Quest found when they were in Vietnam. If you don't know Vegan Food Quest, be sure to check out their blog. They do awesome stuff in Southeast Asia. That's their base. They're actually based in Cambodia. So they have traveled all over that region as vegans, and they are the real experts when it comes to vegan food and vegan travel in Cambodia especially, but also in Thailand and Vietnam and other countries in Southeast Asia. So shout out to Vegan Food Quest. So they were the ones who took this photo, and as you can see, the cart does actually say bánh mì chay. So this is an example of a street vendor that sells only the vegan version of this dish. If you're at just a regular street vendor, then you can ask if they have tofu or another mock meat, or if not, then you can just get it with vegetables as well. And then in the US, and also in other countries, there's a very good chance that any place that's selling bánh mì is going to have tofu at the very least, or quite possibly some other kind of mock meat that you could add to your sandwich. So that's it, guys. That is the very last episode in this series. You now know all of my favorite dishes from all over the world. If you've watched all of the videos, then you also now know exactly which 11 cuisines are included in Veggie Planet, because I haven't really specified that anywhere. But if you were paying attention, you now have that information if you've watched all the videos. If you haven't watched all the videos, be sure to go back and do that. And so we've reached the end of this series, and that means that Veggie Planet is almost here. So tomorrow, July 21st, 2017, is the official launch date. I am so excited to get this book out into the world so that it can help people to find delicious vegan food everywhere they go. But that does also mean that your time is running out if you want to grab your free bonuses that I've put together for you. So today is the last day that you can pre-order in time to still get the whole package of bonuses. So just to recap, those include recipes for some of the dishes that I've talked about in the book. It includes a bonus chapter on a 12th cuisine, so that one's still a surprise. That's one that we haven't covered in this series, and that I don't talk about anywhere in the main book, but it's a whole separate cuisine and a whole separate chapter that discusses that cuisine. Alright, then we've got a sneak peek into Italy for Veggie Lovers, which is my next book, and as you can guess by the title, it goes into even further detail about Italian cuisine and about living in Italy and traveling in Italy as a vegan. And then finally, you will get a free ticket to the live online event with me. It's a Meet the Author event, a Q&A, so we get to chat and you can ask me anything that you want about vegan travel, vegan living, and vegan food all over the world. So yeah, time is running out. Be sure to grab it. You can go to Amazon, look for Veggie Planet, and put in your pre-order. As long as you get it in today, then you will still get the bonuses. You just need to send me an email at wendy@thenomadicvegan.com. Show me you can just forward me the email that you get from Amazon to show that you've purchased the book, and then I will send your bonuses to you straight away, and then the book itself will be automatically downloaded to your Kindle or your other device that you use tomorrow on the official release date. Alright, so thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here through this whole series, and I am so excited to share Veggie Planet with you, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye!